Escape attempt. Authorities find tunnel on prison compound. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, you'll be sanctioned. A warning to JCF members who refuse to renew gun licenses.
Don't be tempted. Police High Command cautions the public and police against bribes for traffic offences.
Top secret, CARICOM Commission questions refusal of regional body to disclose financial affairs.
And in business news, more mergers. Grace Kennedy confirms one of his associated companies is seeking to merge.
There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast, but before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, is CARICOM still relevant to you?
Share comments online, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam.
Stay with us. Primetime News returns right after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News. Special welcome to the folks watching on onespotmedia.com.
The authorities may have stopped a brazen escape attempt by inmates at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Facility in Kingston.
The security forces are on the ground right now. An operation which started earlier today after a tunnel was found discovered on an eastern section of the compound.
Our reporter Kirk Wright was on location at the facility and now joins us live with the very latest on the situation. Kirk?
Thank you, Archie. Doreen. Well, it was hard to determine if what we had heard was in fact true, but we began seeing signs that something was happening on the outside. It seemed like a typical day at the facility. It wasn't until the state minister in charge of national security, Colonel Charles Jr., drove into the facility along with an assistant commissioner that we started putting the pieces together. In fact, a source told us also that the authorities first saw signs of a tunnel from yesterday, which drew their suspicion, and then a team from the Caribbean Search Center came back today with members of the Jamaica Defence Force and the police. We understand that it was then that they discovered a tunnel which leads from one of the cells to the back of a church on the compound. We were also told that there is a sewer line at the back of that church that leads to the sea. And if you know the story about the Mexican drug dealer El Chapo, we were told that it was that kind of getaway that these prisoners were planning. It happened at the eastern section of the facility. And we were also told that the men, well, nobody has been charged or held responsible for this so far, but the investigations into the tunnel or who created it is ongoing. The minister, we were hoping to get something from him, but we waited for some time for him to leave the facility, but that didn't happen. So we're standing by and we'll keep you abreast with any information as soon as they become available. Archie, Doreen?
Thank you very much, Kirk. Meanwhile, a warning from the Police High Command of possible legal action for police officers who continue to breach the rules and regulations of the Firearm Licensing Authority.
The warning was issued in the latest Jamaica Constabulary Force orders and follows complaints from the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, that several police officers have failed to renew their firearm licenses. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
A sternly worded reminder in the JCF Force orders calling for full compliance by all JCF members as it relates to Firearm Licensing Authority FLA rules. In 2017, the FLA raised concerns that a number of policemen and women have not been renewing their firearm licenses. According to the recent force orders, despite previous instructions, the Police High Command has information that some members of the JCF and its auxiliary, who are the holders of firearm licenses, have not been renewing such licenses in keeping with the law. It's understood that while policemen and women are issued with service revolvers or pistols to use on the job, some are also licensed firearm holders. The FLA says over the years, some members of the JCF have been tardy in renewing this license, and instructions were issued from the force to its members to rectify those situations. In light of the continued breach, however, the force orders went on to state that members are again being warned to have their firearm licenses renewed in accordance with the law no later than April 1, 2018. It also warned that failure to do so will result in the revocation of licenses and such members being the subject of disciplinary and/or criminal proceedings. Under the Police Services Regulation, a criminal conviction of a member of the JCF may result in that member being dismissed from the force. Herman Green, TVJ News.
In the meantime, with the new Road Traffic Act set to become law soon, a strong warning has come from the Acting Commissioner of Police to both police officers and motorists not to engage in corrupt activities in relation to breaches of the Act. More in this report.
Acting Commissioner Clifford Blake issued the warning in light of what he says are discussions surrounding the passage of the bill in the House of Representatives and the concerns of citizens regarding the possible conduct of members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF when it becomes law. He said the concern is that policemen and women will be enticed to request and accept bribes from motorists, given that the penalties for breach will be significantly higher. The acting commissioner is reminding the policemen and women under his command that the acceptance of bribes is a breach of the Corruption Prevention Act and the organization's policies on the conduct of members. Acting Commissioner Blake said there will be robust monitoring and the strongest possible actions will be taken in cases where this act of criminality is reported and or detected. He also told members of the JCF to obey the laws of the land and to refrain from any conduct that can lead to their arrest and prosecution. Mr. Blake also reminded that any member of the public who attempts to bribe a policeman or woman in exchange for avoiding a ticket will be prosecuted. Citizens who wish to lodge complaints about any member of the JCF may contact the IOC at 906-5325 and MOCA at 754-0793. Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
Investigators have charged a third suspect in connection with last month's murder of St. Andrew businesswoman Simone Collymore and her driver Winston Walters in Forest Hill, St. Andrew. He is Dwight Pink. Mr. Pink has been charged, along with Mrs. Collymore's husband Amar Collymore and Michael Adam, with murder and conspiracy to murder. Mr. Collymore and Mr. Adams appeared before the Gun Court section of the St. Andrew Parish Court this afternoon and were remanded. Both men, who are unrepresented, were given until February 26 to hire an attorney. Mr. Pink was not taken to court today as he is to face an identification parade in connection with a shooting. Mrs. Collymore and Mr. Walters were fatally shot on January 2 when gunmen on motorbikes sprayed bullets on the vehicle in which they were traveling. Mr. Collymore, who is accused of plotting the murder of his wife, was captured at a guest house in St. Elizabeth on February 7 during an early morning police operation. On January 27, the day of his wife's funeral, he was taken off a plane at the Norman Manley International Airport by CIV investigators.
TVJ News has been informed that one of the 17 victims of Wednesday's deadly shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, is of Jamaican parentage. She has been identified as 17-year-old Helena,
saying, "We've spoken with victims and families and deeply regret the additional pain this causes all those affected by this horrific tragedy. This new development coming is the families of some of the 17 victims killed in Wednesday's school massacre preparing to do the unimaginable, bury their children."
I just saw my daughter, cold as can be. She is gone.
14-year-old Alyssa Alhadef, the first victim laid to rest. We're also learning more about the others who lost their lives, including a football coach, an athletic director, and young students with bright futures ahead of them.
Jamie was such a special kid. All of the kids here are.
And as the community struggles to heal fresh wounds, there are small signs that life is returning to some sense of normalcy. While Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School is closed this week, some students and staff returned to campus Friday to pick up their vehicles left behind in the chaos.
Our top story today, massive security force operation now underway at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Facility after authorities find tunnel on compound. And still ahead tonight, CARICOM Review Commission blasts regional body for failing to disclose financial affairs. And in business news, Grace Kennedy says its Barbados associate seeks merger. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Continuing the news, a startling revelation this evening as the nation continues to digest the findings of the CARICOM review report. The CARICOM Secretariat has refused to disclose its financial affairs to the CARICOM Review Commission, saying the information is confidential. That has fueled concerns about the trust, integrity and accountability framework within the Caribbean community. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
We were shocked to learn that some of these bodies had never produced audited financial statements.
Former Prime Minister and Chairman of the CARICOM Review Commission, Bruce Golding, outlining some of what they found during a review of CARICOM.
None of you could go on the web now and download CARICOM's budget. It's a classified document.
On top of that, he said the institutions of CARICOM that were contacted were the only ones to give information on CARICOM's budget, the fees paid by member states, and how much is owed.
When we couldn't hear from the Secretariat and we started harassing them, they refused. They said, sorry, but we can't divulge that information. So we said, but how can that be? We have got it from all of the other, from CARFA, from SEDEMA. We have that. It's just the Secretariat that is missing.
I just don't understand how it could be that that information was not available.
The CARICOM Secretariat refused to tell the Commission how much is owed by member states, saying it's a private matter, and if the Commission got the information from elsewhere, it should not be made public. So the financial state of CARICOM wasn't included in the report, much to the displeasure of Kevin O'Brien Chang, a member of the Commission, who believes Caribbean nationals should know how their taxes are being spent.
But I'm going to take the liberty of saying to you that the budget of the Secretariat and the various institutions, not including the CARICOM Development Fund, is roughly equivalent to the budget of the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. You're talking about a considerable amount of money.
And how is it funded?
Something that is worrying is that more than 50% of that comes from donor countries. There's a possibility of compromise, no? In terms of policy position. And there's also the possibility of disappointment.
About 45% of contributions are from member states who are reminded to pay their fees on time and clear outstanding debts. Mr. Golding was speaking at a function on Friday at the University of the West Indies, Mona, to talk about the 144-page report which reviewed CARICOM and made 33 recommendations. One recommendation was for CARICOM to get an Auditor General to address its financial management, accountability, and operational efficiency. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Adults living in the Mount Salem Zone of Special Operation are reaching out to the authorities to help them ensure their children are kept free from crime. From Montego Bay, TVJ Lanagay Franklin reports.
Some 40 parents living in the Zone of Special Operations in Mount Salem, St. James, have reached out for help to become better parents. Chief Executive Officer of the National Parenting Support Commission, Kesia Carr, has indicated that the parents have volunteered for immediate training in effective parenting. That training is to begin on the 26th of February.
Parent mentors actually go through 10 modules of training, and after which there is a practicum because they must prove what they have learned. So they're deployed to a community that's not their own, and that's also supported by parent educators, psychologists, and other partners from other ministries and agencies. And we end that with a community forum.
Ms. Carr was speaking on Friday at the Regional Parenting Stakeholders meeting in Montego Bay. Ms. Carr cited studies which have suggested that antisocial characteristics in the home are often generalized into the school setting and, by extension, the wider society.
Parents need to be retooled, no pun intended, not machetes, no. They need to be retooled and reskilled so that they can be doing better at parenting. We also have another study that I want to cite that says that the single parent mother is also now responsible for some of the sociopaths that we're seeing in the country. Because as a single parent, you perhaps take out most of your frustrations on your children. And one of the animated explanations I saw was, yo, workless pooper, not, and that is unfortunately beaten into the children.
USAID will be providing funding to the tune of $3 million to assist with the setting up of what is called parent places, which are resource centers for parents offering skills training and early literacy intervention. The first setting up will take place in Western Jamaica.
On a broader scale, just a reminder that this project aims to secure that many more are able to teach and learn in environments comparable to their counterparts in other areas of the country not affected by insecurity. Once we are able to make inroads into the problem of crime and violence at the micro level of schools and communities, then we should be able to see reductions at the national level.
Lanigay Franklin, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Montagonians could be seen clad in their red on Friday, not in celebration of Valentine's Day, but in promoting a day of love in a city under a state of emergency.
The campaign is certainly a timely one because, as we have seen over the past five years, we have had serious incidents of crime in Mobe, and this is an initiative that will, showcase or change the narrative of hate and crime and change that narrative to love, and that is what this campaign is all about.
Grace Jarrett says she joined today's cause because of the love she has for Montego Bay.
And I was born and grown in King Street and then went to Salt Spring. And I remember days gone by when I used to let Salt Spring come down a bay, I go a movie, and me not have to fret and worry. You understand? And I really want to see them days they come back. Me can't bother with me can't take the whole heap of violence and, I have 5 grandchildren, and trust me, me just have to fret for them.
And the president of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Tashura Gibbs, says it's most important to re-establish social values into society, and that is the first aim of the I Love Mobe initiative.
Back to those values that we grew upon of good morning, good evening, please, and thank you. That is where we want to get back to. And it's going to require a lot of partnerships. I Love Mobe Foundation is not going to be employing a bag of people to execute. What we're going to be doing is leveraging the skills and expertise of those already established organizations to get the word out and to just get things done.
Youth Minister Ruel Reid has condemned the murder of the 3-year-old child in Onoto Bay, St. Mary on Wednesday night. 3-year-old Calicia Matthews was shot and killed while walking with her stepfather, Andrew Dixon, through the community. However, Mr. Dixon was not harmed. In a release on Friday, Youth Minister Ruel Reid says robbing the life of such a young and innocent child is a depraved act and should be condemned in all sectors of the society. It also stated that the minister will be providing grief counselling to the family of the victim, especially Mr. Dixon, who would have witnessed the gruesome act.
I want to express our deepest regret on the unfortunate killing of that 3-year-old in St. Mary. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, through its agencies, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency and the National Parent Support Commission, will be offering counseling and other financial support to the parents and relatives at this particular time.
Is the government trying to muzzle the opposition during certain committees of Parliament? That's the question this evening, following a clash during the House of Representatives on Thursday over who should chair certain committees. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm explains.
The acting House leader, Everald Warmington, calling out the names of parliamentarians to sit on various committees of Parliament. For example, the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, which keeps track of how money in the budget is being spent. However, there was no mention of who would chair the committees. Here's why.
Mr. Speaker, may I state that the committees, in strict accordance with provision of Section 73(5) of the Standing Orders, will elect its chairman at its first meeting.
We are going to be in strong opposition for any move to revert to that and to be backward in this regard.
backward because Philip Paulwell had already submitted the list of opposition chairpersons based on convention.
There are a number of committees that over the last decade have been chaired by the opposition. And I want to ensure and to insist that we retain that as a good model.
What's wrong with democracy? It doesn't say that they won't elect. It doesn't mean that members who currently chair or from that side won't elect a chairman.
Everald Warmington is a known stickler for the standing orders, which are the rules governing Parliament. In those rules, the chairmanship of some committees are clearly stated, but others can be put to a vote. So, why is the opposition making a fuss? One theory is that there are more government than opposition members on the committees. Take the PAAC for example. Based on the January 2018 list, 7 government and 6 opposition members. So if there's a vote for the chairmanship, chances are the opposition would be at a disadvantage. Secondly, the opposition may find it harder to probe civil servants about what's happening in various ministries if they are not chairing some committees. Case in point, the saga involving O'Brien's and the purchase of used vehicles for the police. That matter was ventilated under the chairmanship of opposition MP Dr. Wickham McNeil in the PAAC. And so Philip Paulwell wasn't taking the risk. Opposition members didn't support Warmington's resolution.
Mr. Speaker, we have called for a divide. I really believe that the Prime Minister should deal with this matter and not allow this gentleman to do it.
You don't address me as a gentleman. The member from Southwest St. Catherine or the acting House leader.
The argument forced a suspension of the House, and after about 18 minutes, the conclusion.
Mr. Speaker, after consultation, I wish to withdraw the motion I moved earlier until a later date.
It's left to be seen if the status quo will remain or if parliamentary committees will vote for the chairmanship. Based on the 2018 list, government MPs chair 8 parliamentary committees and opposition MPs chair 6. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Before the break, it's time for our feedback responses. Archie?
Thank you, Doreen. In our feedback question this evening, we asked, is CARICOM still relevant to you? Eddie Francis says, I don't think so. As Caribbean nations, we're not sensitized enough on the issue. A few heads wanted it, the rest tagged along, and that was it. Now it's dead, awaiting burial. Shane Morris says, the average Jamaican only hears the term CARICOM on radio and television, has never felt an impact from it, doesn't know what it is, so to people like that, it means nothing. Pauline Moore says, I'm not sure how relevant it should be to me. Maybe to the leaders it is. All them do is go, and nothing them do don't get to carry come back. And Nicole Woolridge says, honestly, no, not many Jamaicans understand what relevance they really have. Maybe the public needs to be better. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/TelevisionJamaican and tweets to @TelevisionJam. The Financial Week, news from overseas and our Bite of the Week. They're all next. Please stay tuned.
Coming up on E-Prime tonight, the entertainment ministry stands strong in their support of Etana and Miami Dream Team here for Bacchanal opening night. All this and more right after sports commentary. Don't go far.
Primetime News local segment.
Good evening, this is the Financial Week. I'm Herman Green. Grace Kennedy has confirmed that Barbados-based Signia Financial Group is exploring a potential merger. Grace Kennedy owns a 40% stake in Signia. It is seeking to merge the entity with another Barbados-based company, Globe Finance. Grace Kennedy says a non-binding letter of intent was signed to pursue the merger in November last year. The company says it will continue to keep the market informed if there are further developments. Sweet River Abattoir says it will be going after the hotel market to expand sales in its pork products. The company said it is hoping to It's hoping the strategy, which intends to tap the record tourist arrival figures, will help it to turn around losses it faced in the first 9 months of its current financial year. Sweet River says it recorded a $4.5 million loss in the 9 months to the end of December. It said the losses stemmed from a decline in sales and uncompetitive pricing. Now, currency trading ended today with the US dollar selling for $127.02, the first time it has been that high since November 6 last year. The Canadian dollar is, however, selling for $99.77. The pound sterling is going for $177.50, while the euro is costing $158.70. The JSE index fell by 723 points, while the junior market index gained more than 5. Today's winners included Access Financial, Dermont Trading, Grace Kennedy, Jamaica Broilers, Lasco Financial, Panjam, and Supreme Ventures. Now on the losing end were Berita Investments, Siboney Group, Kingston Wharves, Mayberry Investments, Sagicor Real Estate X Fund, and VM Investments. And that's the Financial Week. I'm Herman Green. Good evening.
Financial Week.